He thinks silence is a weapon. That withholding words is a punishment. He doesn't understand that for me, it's a shield. In this silence, now stretching to 21 days, I can finally hear myself. The noise of his disapproval, the hum of his expectations, the constant background static of his corrections, it's all gone. All that's left is emptiness. And in that emptiness, I ask a question for the first time in years: who am I here? 3 weeks. 21 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners accompanied by the clinking of knives on plates and the hum of the refrigerator. He sits across from me, buried in his phone. The screen casts a cold blue light on his face. That face used to be a map I could read. Furrowed brows meant trouble at work, a slight smile at the corners of his mouth meant pride in our son, squinting eyes meant irritation that I bought the wrong cheese again. Now it's just a face. An object. Part of the scenery, like the fridge or the kitchen cabinets. It started with a trifle. No, that's a lie. It started years ago. 3 weeks ago, it just burst. The last straw. I said I wanted to sign up for a pottery class. Evenings, on Wednesdays. His response wasn't even a word. It was a sound. A short, sharp exhale through his nose, almost a snort. Humph. That's it. Then he looked up from his laptop and asked, "And who will make dinner on Wednesday? And check Jake's homework?" I didn't scream. I just looked at him. Looked at this person who had shared my bed for 20 years and suddenly understood that he doesn't see me. He sees a function. Cook, cleaner, tutor, accountant. He sees the wife. And at that moment, words got stuck in my throat like a lump. Not from anger. From a terrifying, chilling clarity. If I speak now, what will come out won't be speech, it will be a howl. So I stayed silent. Just walked out of the room. He seemed to take that silence for a whim, for a sulk that would fade by morning. The next morning he said, "Pass the salt." I passed it. Silently. He shot me a surprised look. I met his eyes and said nothing. And so it began.
This is absurd. Childish. She's 43 and acting like a teenager whose phone got taken away. Pottery class. For God's sake. We have a mortgage, a teenager about to apply to colleges. My mom needs help after her surgery. And she's dreaming about a pottery wheel. As if we don't have real problems, real responsibilities. Silence is her new weapon. Before there were tears, then shouting, now this icy, calculated ignoring. She thinks it will punish me, make me feel guilty. But all I feel is growing irritation. I get tired at work, solve problems, bring money into the house, and at home I'm met with a wall. A beautiful, well-kept, perfectly dinner-cooking wall. I tried. On the 3rd day, I brought flowers. A bouquet of those pink ones she likes. She took them, silently put them in a vase, added water. That's it. No thank you, no smile. Like a robot. That was even more hurtful than if she'd thrown them out the window. On the 5th day, I asked directly, "Elizabeth, how long is this going to go on?" She just looked up at me, and in her eyes was something detached, alien, as if she was looking at a boring museum exhibit, and walked out of the room. The strangest thing isn't the silence itself. We could sit all evening before, buried in a book or a series. The strangest thing is the disappearance of the background noise of our lives. The stuff I didn't even notice. Her question, "How was your day?" Even if I brushed it off with a monosyllabic, "Fine." Her laugh at something silly on TV. Even her grumbling when I leave my socks around. Now the house is quiet as a tomb, and I'm starting to hear other sounds. The creaking of the house, my own pulse in my ears, the hum of my own thoughts. And those thoughts are unpleasant. She performs all her functions perfectly. The house is spotless. Dinner is ready. Jake is dressed, fed, driven to practice. But she has vanished. Where Elizabeth used to be, now operates her flawless ghost double. And this ghost scares me more than any of her hysterics. Because hysterics mean engagement. This This feels like she's slowly, brick by brick, building an invisible wall between us. And I don't know if that wall has a door, or if I have a key. Tonight, I walked into the living room. She was sitting in the armchair, hugging a pillow, looking out the window. It was dark outside, only her own shadow reflected in the glass. She wasn't crying, just sitting. And in her posture was such a deep, such a final loneliness that my heart clenched. I wanted to go over, put a hand on her shoulder, but say what? I'm sorry? For what? For providing? For asking about dinner? Don't go? But she's physically here. I stood in the doorway, and the words got stuck in a lump again. Only this time in my throat. I just turned around and went to the kitchen to make coffee I didn't want. Because dealing with the coffee maker is easier than dealing with the silence that has become a living entity in our house. An entity that drinks our air and steals our words.
The wall he feels is real. But I'm not the one building it. I'm just on the other side of it. And on this side, it's getting easier to breathe.
Jake has figured it out. I saw it in his eyes. Yesterday at dinner he asked if we'd had a fight. Elizabeth just shook her head and gave him her new, plastic smile. It's fine, sweetie. Dad's just tired. And she gave him an extra helping of mashed potatoes. That gesture, such a simple act of motherly care, cut me to the quick. For him, she can. For him, there are words and warmth. For me, all she has left is the cold, polished marble of silence. I tried to speak through him. Jake, tell your mom I need a shirt pressed for a meeting tomorrow. He'd yell across the house, Mom, Dad needs a shirt. From the kitchen would come an emotionless, okay, like a voice assistant. Alexa, turn on the lights. Okay. It's humiliating. I feel like a fool in my own home, driving him to soccer. We used to go together. She was in the passenger seat, we'd chat about nothing. Now I drive alone. And on this 40-minute drive there and back, my brain, deprived of its usual distractions, her voice, her presence, starts rewinding the tape. I remember her eyes 10 years ago. They sparkled. She was working at a small design studio back then, bringing home silly sketches, passionately discussing projects. Then Jake was born. Then her mom got sick. Then my career jump, the move, the bigger house, the bigger bills. And her eyes slowly grew dim, as if someone were slowly turning off a light inside them. I saw it. But what was I supposed to do? Quit my job? We couldn't manage on one salary. Offer help? But she never complained. She'd say, I've got it. Don't worry. Everything's under control. And I didn't worry. I believed her. I thought if things were bad, she'd say so. Isn't that what marriage is? Talking? And she, it turns out, was silent. For years. And now she's giving me silence squared. Fair? Probably. But goddamn unbearable.
He's trying to negotiate through our son. It's pathetic and childish. Like we're on a playground, tell Mikey I'm not playing with him. I play by these rules. I've become the impeccable administrator of the family routine. The house runs like Swiss clockwork. I've taken away the last hook he could latch onto for a reproach. You forgot to pay the bill. Paid. Where are my blue socks? Ironed, in the top drawer. He's spinning like a top that's lost its point of balance. But here's the strange thing. In this silence, I've started to notice him. Truly. Not the husband, but David. I see how he taps his fingers nervously on the table when he's thinking. I notice the streak of gray at his temple that wasn't there before. I see him glance at me furtively when he thinks I'm not looking. There's no irritation in his gaze now. There's bewilderment. And something like fear. The silence scares him, too. That means his music was in it as well. And now he can hear it. Yesterday he came home from work early. Found me in the living room. I wasn't looking out the window. I was leafing through an old album. Our wedding photos. I wasn't crying. I was studying them. Those two smiling fools on the threshold of their whole lives. He froze in the doorway. I felt his gaze. Looked up. We stared at each other across the length of the room. The moment stretched. Something ancient, recognizable, flashed in his eyes. Pain? Longing for those fools? I don't know. I slowly closed the album, stood up, and walked to the kitchen to check the oven. I couldn't let that moment happen. Because if we speak now, we'll have to speak about how we killed those two people in the album. And I'm not ready for that yet. Nighttime is the hardest. The day is saved by rituals and distance. At night we lie in the same bed, separated by a chasm half a meter wide. It feels wider than the Atlantic. Before, even after the fiercest fights, he'd reach for my hand in his sleep. Or I'd put my foot on his. Now we both lie on the very edges, like two islands, careful not to let the blankets even touch.
Gotta say something. In the morning. Definitely in the morning. Just start. Good morning. Or, I'm sorry. No, not sorry. Let's talk. Yes. Elizabeth, let's talk. She'll turn. Her eyes? What color are her eyes? Gray? Gray-blue? Damn. I can't remember the exact shade. When was the last time I just looked into her eyes? Not thinking about work. Bills. Jake? Gotta do it in the morning. Morning comes. Sunlight hits my eyes. The other side of the bed is empty. She's already up, waking Jake. The smell of coffee comes from the kitchen. And all my nighttime resolve melts like fog in that sun. I hear her footsteps on the stairs, her calm voice encouraging our sleepy son. And I realize my "let's talk" would sound like an idiotic line from a bad play against the backdrop of this well-oiled, normal life. Who am I to break this fragile mechanism of silence that, damn it, works? The house is clean. The kid is happy. The wife is functional. Maybe that's what adult life is? Not passion, not talking till dawn, but efficient, silent partnership? Maybe I'm asking for too much? Maybe this silence is the very peace everyone talks about?
Jake is gone. The door is closed. And in the house, it's just the two of us again. And our third, the silence. It's no longer the enemy. It's become our main joint project. The strongest thing we've built in years. And the most terrible thought comes to me now: what if we forget how to speak so completely that even if we want to, we won't find the words? What if this silence isn't a pause, but the end of the sentence? A period we accidentally put down without even noticing. Day 22. It's Saturday. Jake is away for the weekend on a camping trip with friends. For the first time in 3 weeks, absolute, complete physical silence in the house. Not the hostile one that hangs between us. The literal kind. No background noise of teenage life. Just us. And that terrifies me most of all. Because now our silence is no longer a choice. It's a statement of fact. We are two silent people in an empty house. I'm standing in the kitchen and I realize I don't want to be the administrator today. I don't want to be the ghost. Today, I can be just no one. And it's liberating. He's in the study. Sitting at the desk but not working. Just staring at the black screen of the monitor. I see him from the back. His shoulders are slumped. In this posture, not the department head, not the provider, not the irritated husband. In this posture, a tired, bewildered man. I don't think I've ever seen him like this. Or never allowed myself to see him. I'm not thinking. I'm operating on the autopilot of some ancient instinct. I walk to the closet, take his oldest, most worn jacket. The one he likes to put on in the garage. And my shearling coat. I walk up to the study door. I don't look him in the eye. I look somewhere in the space above his shoulder. I speak the first sentence in 22 days that isn't about logistics. My voice sounds raspy, unfamiliar, like a robot that's just been switched on. Let's go. Somewhere. Just drive.
My brain short circuits. I hear the words but can't decode them. Let's go. This isn't pass the salt. This isn't Jake needs the dentist. This is an invitation or an order. Her voice is alien, raspy, vulnerable. She's not looking at me. She's looking at my old jacket in her hands as if it were a white flag or a weapon. I don't know. I should say no. Ask why. Something smart, rational. But my mind is paralyzed. Something deeper, more animalistic kicks in. An instinct that if I turn away now, if I refuse, the door that has cracked open a millimeter will slam shut forever. And we will suffocate in this silence. I slowly stand up. My muscles creak with tension. Without a word, I take the jacket from her hands. Our fingers do not touch. We are driving. Where? I don't know. She is silent, looking out the window. I just drive, turning onto unfamiliar highways, leaving the city, our house, our life behind. This trip is the most pointless and the most important thing we've done in years. We have no destination, only movement. And as long as we're moving, we don't have to talk. We don't have to be husband and wife. We can just be two people in one car, running away from something unbearable. An hour later, we pull over at an empty scenic overlook. Below, a valley, autumn forests, a carpet of russet and gold. We get out. The air is cold, sharp. It smells of decaying leaves and freedom. We stand side by side, leaning on the railing, about a foot apart, silent. But this silence is different now. It's not icy. It's charged, vibrating, like a taut string, with everything unsaid that has accumulated over 3 weeks, over 3 years, over 20.
I'm afraid we've already said everything. That we've run out of words.
Her voice is quiet, almost carried away by the wind, but I hear every word like a hammer blow. I look at her profile. The wind tugs at her hair. In the sunlight, I see the fine lines around her eyes, which before seemed familiar but now look like a map of uncharted territory. We haven't run out, I say, and my own voice sounds hoarse and strange. We just forgot them, buried them under daily life like old junk. She turns. For the first time in 22 days, she looks me straight in the eye. Not as a ghost, not as an administrator, as a person. In her gray-blue eyes, now I see the color clearly. There is no anger. There's an ocean of weariness. And at the bottom of that ocean, a tiny, barely flickering spark of something. Hope, curiosity.
I don't want to be your function, David, she says simply. Without accusation. As a statement. And I don't want you to be mine. A function.
And that I don't want sounds not like a blame but like an admission, like the first line of a new, unknown book. Not you are guilty, but I am in pain, and in that difference lies a whole universe. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to fix what's broken, but I know I don't want to be silent anymore, because in that silence we were slowly dying. I don't want that either, I say. It's all I have. It's a beginning. Slowly, giving her time to pull away, I reach out, not to hug, just to lay my hand on top of hers, resting on the cold metal of the railing. She flinches. From the cold? From a touch that hasn't happened in 3 weeks? She doesn't pull her hand away.
His hand is warm. Rough. Familiar. And in this simple touch, there are no answers. No promises that it will be easy. But there is one thing, an end to the silence. A period has not been placed. An ellipsis has been placed. We stand like that, looking at a valley we've never seen before, holding hands like two blind people who have found each other in the dark. The words are still ahead. There will be many of them. They will be difficult, awkward, painful. We might even fall silent again. But not as enemies. As people learning to speak anew. In a new language for which we don't yet have the words. But the first step is to admit that the silence was not a solution. It was a scream. And today, we finally heard it. Sometimes the most important conversations begin not with a word, but with its absence. And with the courage to break the silence that has become too loud. Thank you for being with us. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might also be lacking words right now. Subscribe to the Unspoken Bond.